The man unzipped his pants, was about to pee into the blue sea, but the sail behind him took advantage of his inattention and hit him hard on the back. Fortunately, the man reacted quickly and grabbed the railing with both hands in time, so he didn't fall into the bottomless sea. But the yacht was speeding at this time. The strong sea breeze made him sway from side to side. Today, I recommend a high-rated masterpiece, The Boat, which is being shown on a film and television platform built on .com and .top domains. Let's watch it together. And he would fall into the sea if he was not careful, and he would die. At the critical moment, the man quickly adjusted his breathing to keep himself calm. Then he used all his strength and kept swinging his body. He finally stepped on the deck before he lost his grip with support under his feet. His heart finally fell to the ground. After recovering his strength, the man coordinated his limbs. He successfully got into the guardrail. However, a strong urge to urinate hit him again. He still frightened, dared not relieve himself, so he went to the bathroom in the cabin to relieve himself. But just as he was halfway through, the toilet door behind him suddenly closed. The man turned around subconsciously, thinking it was just the wind, so he didn't pay attention. However, after he finished, he found the door was firmly locked, but it couldn't be opened no matter how he twisted it. The man was a little confused. He squatted down and checked carefully, but he twisted left and right, pushing and pulling. He still couldn't open the toilet door. At this point, the man finally realized something was wrong. He stood up in a hurry. He groped along the crack of the door, trying to pry the door open with his hands. However, the gap was too narrow, and his hands couldn't exert any force. The man began to get impatient. In order to leave the small toilet as soon as possible, he quickly opened the vanity mirror to find a tool to break the door. He saw a pair of scissors inside. The man instantly had an idea. He quickly opened it, trying to use the tip of the scissors to remove the screw. But strangely, the size of the scissors matched the screw hole. But no matter how he tried, the screw did not loosen at all. Seeing that this trick didn't work, the man opened the ventilation window above his head, trying to get out of the toilet through the narrow window. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't squeeze through. Just as he was almost frantic, the driverless yacht began to accelerate automatically. In order to prevent the yacht from leaving its familiar course, he quickly stuck his hand out the window. He roughly pulled down a cable. After making sure one end of the rope would not loosen, he quickly tied a knot at the other end and threw it hard, and threw the rope into the sea. He hoped that the rope would follow the current and wrap around the propeller at the bottom of the ship to slow down the speed of the yacht. But the propeller was spinning too fast, causing the rope to shrink violently. The man didn't have time to react and was instantly strangled by the rope, and he couldn't breathe. Realizing that he was about to suffocate to death, the man hurriedly groped on the deck, and soon he felt a hook and tried to use it to open the rope. Build a website with a .com or .top domain name to easily launch your brand's online business. He wanted to escape. The man was exhausted and fell asleep unconsciously. When he woke up again, he found the strange yacht began to leak water continuously, and soon it flooded the entire floor. At this time, the man was trapped in the yacht's toilet. If he doesn't find a way out, he would be drowned by the seeped-in seawater. However, at this moment, the roar outside the window caught his attention. A huge ship was emitting thick smoke, was slowly approaching him. The hope of escape was close at hand. The man quickly stuck his hand out the window, waving his clothes to the people on the ship for help. But the noise of the ship was too loud, completely covering the man's cry for help. Seeing that the ship showed no sign of slowing down, the man was close to collapse. But when he thought that he still 2 billion yuan in inheritance to inherit, he immediately calmed down. Then he squatted down. He poured out the seawater that reached his calves. He poured it out of the window, trying to delay the speed of the toilet being flooded. But the water level rose too fast. Draining the water with cups was useless. However, the ruthless fate still seems unwilling to let go. This poor man, the unmanned yacht, suddenly seemed to have a consciousness, and suddenly turned around and rushed straight towards the distant storm. A moment later, a strong wind hit, blowing the yacht from side to side, and heavy rain kept pouring into the cabin, and the water in the toilet kept rising. Facing the wind and rain, the man was powerless to resist, so he had to lean against the position that hadn't been flooded, and endured the rainstorm painfully. After a night, the wind and rain finally subsided, but the man who had been soaked in cold water all night had already lost consciousness. He struggled to move his mouth, and then swung his 2 feet. Finally, his body responded a little, but the man didn't have time to be happy. He had been trapped for a day and a night. If he doesn't get out, he would die here sooner or later. So the man lifted his legs. He kicked the door desperately, trying to open the door from the inside out, but his body was too weak. After kicking for a long time, he couldn't open the door, but instead exhausted his last bit of strength. His body went limp and slipped directly into the muddy water. But just as the man was desperate, he suddenly found the lock seemed to be loose. He reached out and gently twisted it, and then tried to push forward. Unexpectedly, he opened the door with one push. The escape came too suddenly. The man was a little unbelievable, but soon he realized that the yacht was very strange. If he didn't get away quickly, he would encounter more dangers. So he quickly found from the deck the airbag and then returned to the cabin, picked up the open door panel as a hull. Finally, he tied the airbag and the door together with rope to make a simple drift raft. Then the man took out a rope. He tied the raft to the yacht. He took the oar and rowed in the opposite direction, and wanted to stay as far away from the yacht as possible. However, as he was rowing, He suddenly stopped. Although this luxury yacht he picked up, though it was full of strangeness, and almost trapped himself. But then he thought if he could fix it and drive it back, he could definitely sell it for a good price. Register.com and .top domain names to grasp the high-quality assets of the internet plus. Thinking of this, the man was full of motivation. He returned to the yacht and started the rescue work. He first moved the generator from the cockpit, then took out the spare battery, and connected it to the water pump. Finally, he clamped the poles of the battery to make a simple water pump to drain all the seawater in the cabin. After draining the seawater, the man put away the canvas and used homemade glue to repair the gap in the wall. After everything was done, he went to the cockpit again, picked up the walkie-talkie to call for help, but after shouting for a long time, there was no response. The man could only try to clean the engine to prepare for sailing home. The next morning, the man was shaken awake by violent bumps. He opened his eyes in a daze and saw the scenery outside the window moving rapidly. He immediately felt something was wrong, so he quickly got up and planned to go out and see. But he was surprised to find that the door of the room couldn't be opened again. But this time, the man didn't panic. He just showed a helpless expression. Because of his experience of being trapped in the toilet, he knew that the door could not be opened by brute force. He must think of another way. So he went to the bathroom and felt around. He found on the wall there was a secret passage to the deck. He was overjoyed and quickly drilled in along the passage. However, before he was happy, a thick window blocked him in the passage. He couldn't open it no matter how he tried. What's worse, at this moment, the secret door behind him suddenly closed, leaving the man trapped in the narrow passage. He couldn't get out from either end. As the oxygen in the passage gradually thinned, the man felt unprecedented suffocation. He didn't know how long it had passed. The man woke up from a coma. He was surprised to find that the yacht drifting outside seemed to have stopped, and the locked secret door opened automatically. The man slowly crawled out of the passage in confusion, and then carefully walked out of the bathroom and came to the door. He slowly extended his right hand. As the door lock was easily turned, the door that couldn't be opened before can now be opened. The man was shocked by this series of strange situations, was directly shocked into a cold sweat. To find out the truth, the man nervously returned to the deck to see what was going on, but the scene in front of him directly stunned him. This strange yacht had unknowingly brought him back to his hometown. However, when the man got off the boat to check, he found that there was no one here. What's even more outrageous is that even his once magnificent home had turned into ruins, which looked very desolate. And when the man turned his head, he found that the yacht had disappeared. The movie ends here.